The early morning sun cast a golden glow across Buckingham Palace as the household staff bustled about, preparing for one of the most significant days in the royal calendar. Trooping the color, a tradition dating back over 260 years, would once again showcase the pageantry and precision that the British monarchy was famous for worldwide. The ceremony, marking the official birthday of the sovereign, promised to be a spectacular display of military prowess, royal tradition, and family unity. Prince William stood at the window of his private study, watching the guards rehearsing their movements in the courtyard below. The rhythmic sound of marching boots on cobblestones echoed through the morning air, a sound that had become as familiar to him as his own heartbeat over the years. At 41, William had participated in countless royal ceremonies, but today felt different somehow. There was an electricity in the air, a sense of anticipation that went beyond the usual protocol and pageantry. The Prince of Wales had spent the early hours reviewing the day's schedule with his private secretary, ensuring every detail was perfect. As heir to the throne, his role in today's ceremony was crucial, but it was another responsibility that weighed more heavily on his mind. Today, his 8-year-old daughter Charlotte would be watching from the balcony, her eyes wide with wonder as she witnessed the full majesty of royal tradition unfold before her. Charlotte had been talking about trooping the color for weeks, her excitement building with each passing day. She had peppered her father with questions about the horses, the soldiers, the music, and the magnificent uniforms. William remembered his own childhood experiences of the ceremony, standing on that same balcony beside his grandmother, the late Queen Elizabeth II, feeling simultaneously overwhelmed by the grandeur and proud to be part of something so historically significant. As William adjusted his ceremonial uniform, the weight of the gold braiding and medals serving as a tangible reminder of his duties, he thought about the conversations he had shared with Charlotte in recent days. She had shown a remarkable understanding of the ceremony's importance, asking thoughtful questions about why certain traditions existed and what they meant to the people of Britain and the Commonwealth. The young princess had been particularly fascinated by the story of the color itself, the flag that would be trooped before the assembled regiments. William had explained how each regiment's color was sacred, embodying the spirit and history of the unit, carried into battle throughout the centuries as a symbol of honor and courage. Charlotte had listened with rapt attention, her blue eyes sparkling with curiosity as she absorbed every detail. Catherine, the Princess of Wales, had been instrumental in preparing Charlotte for the day's events. Together, they had selected the perfect outfit for the occasion, a beautiful pale blue dress that would complement the ceremony's regal atmosphere while ensuring Charlotte felt comfortable during the long day ahead. Catherine understood the delicate balance required when involving the children in royal duties, ensuring they felt included and valued while protecting their childhood innocence. The morning routine at Adelaide Cottage had been carefully orchestrated to minimize any stress or anxiety the children might feel about the day ahead. William and Catherine had learned from experience that keeping things as normal as possible was key to helping their children navigate the unique pressures of royal life. Charlotte had enjoyed her usual breakfast, chatting animatedly with her brothers George and Louis about the day ahead, her enthusiasm infectious throughout the household. As the family prepared to depart for Buckingham Palace, William noticed Charlotte's careful attention to her appearance. She smoothed her dress and checked her hair in the mirror, displaying a maturity beyond her years. There was something touching about watching his daughter prepare for her role in the day's events, understanding instinctively that she represented something greater than herself. The journey to Buckingham Palace was filled with Charlotte's animated chatter about what she expected to see during the ceremony. She had studied photographs from previous years, memorizing the different regiments and their distinctive uniforms. Her knowledge impressed even her father, who recognized in her enthusiasm the same passion for history and tradition that had shaped his own understanding of royal duty. Upon arrival at the palace, the family was swept into the familiar rhythm of royal protocol. Staff members guided them through the final preparations, ensuring every detail was perfect for the cameras and crowds that would be watching around the world. Charlotte moved through these preparations with grace, her natural poise evident as she interacted with palace staff and adjusted to the formal atmosphere. The young princess had developed a particular fondness for the palace guards, often greeting them with warm smiles and polite questions about their duties. Today was no different, as she paused to chat with a guardsman about his bearskin hat, her genuine interest and kind manner earning her appreciative smiles from the seasoned soldiers. As the time approached for the ceremony to begin, William found himself stealing glances at Charlotte, marveling at how she had grown and matured over the past year. The confident, curious child who stood before him seemed to understand intuitively the weight and privilege of her position, approaching her royal duties with a combination of enthusiasm and respect that impressed everyone around her. The sound of military bands tuning their instruments drifted through the palace corridors, a musical prelude to the grandeur that would soon unfold. Charlotte's eyes lit up at the familiar sounds, her foot tapping involuntarily to the rhythm as excitement built within her small frame. She had been practicing her balcony wave for weeks, determined to acknowledge the crowds with the same grace and warmth that had made her great-grandmother so beloved. William remembered his own childhood experiences of standing on that balcony, feeling the weight of thousands of eyes watching his every move. He had learned over the years to find comfort in the routine and tradition, understanding that these ceremonies served a purpose beyond mere spectacle. They connected the monarchy to the people, creating moments of shared national pride and unity that transcended political differences and social divisions. The palace's grand corridors echoed with the sound of footsteps as the royal family made their way toward the balcony area. Charlotte walked beside her father, her small hand occasionally reaching for his as they navigated the familiar, yet always impressive hallways. The portraits of previous monarchs gazed down from the walls, silent witnesses to centuries of royal history and tradition. Palace staff members lined the corridors, offering respectful nods and warm smiles as the royal family passed. Many of these dedicated individuals had served the crown for decades, and they took particular pleasure in watching the younger generation of royals grow and develop. Charlotte had always been a favorite among the staff, her natural warmth and genuine interest in others creating lasting bonds throughout the palace community. As they approached the balcony area, the sounds of the ceremony grew louder and more distinct. The clip-clop of horses' hooves on the parade ground, the sharp commands of military officers, and the distant cheers of the gathering crowds all combined to create an atmosphere of anticipation and excitement that was palpable throughout the palace. William paused for a moment, placing a gentle hand on Charlotte's shoulder as they prepared to step onto the balcony. He looked into his daughter's bright eyes, seeing there a reflection of his own childhood wonder mixed with a mature understanding of the moment's significance. In that brief instant, father and daughter shared an unspoken understanding of the privilege and responsibility they carried as members of the royal family. The doors to the balcony area opened, revealing the magnificent view of Horse Guards Parade where hundreds of soldiers stood in perfect formation. The sea of red uniforms and gleaming instruments created a breathtaking tableau that never failed to impress, even those who had witnessed it countless times before. Charlotte gasped softly at the sight, her reaction reminding William of his own first clear view of the ceremony's full grandeur. The morning had unfolded perfectly, setting the stage for what promised to be a memorable Trooping the Color ceremony. As William and Charlotte prepared to take their places on the balcony, both father and daughter felt the weight and wonder of the moment, ready to play their part in a tradition that had captivated the world for generations. The stage was set for a day that would create lasting memories and strengthen the bonds between family, duty, and the enduring appeal of royal tradition. The magnificent balcony of Buckingham Palace offered a commanding view of the ceremonial parade ground where the annual Trooping the Color was about to begin in earnest. Charlotte stood beside her father, her small hands gripping the ornate railing as she gazed out at the assembled regiments with wide-eyed fascination. The sight before them was nothing short of spectacular, with hundreds of guardsmen arranged in perfect formation, their scarlet tunics and bearskin hats creating a sea of military precision that stretched across Horse Guards Parade. William watched his daughter's reaction with quiet pride, remembering his own sense of awe when he first witnessed this ceremony as a child. Charlotte's natural curiosity had led her to study the different regiments and their histories in the weeks leading up to the event, and now she could identify the various units by their distinctive features. She pointed excitedly toward the Welsh Guards, whispering to her father about the white plume in their caps, a detail she had memorized from her careful research. The young princess had developed an impressive understanding of military traditions, asking her father detailed questions about the significance of different ceremonial elements. She wanted to know why the soldiers wore such elaborate uniforms, how they managed to march in such perfect synchronization, and what the various musical pieces meant to the regiments that performed them. William found himself delighted by her thoughtful questions, recognizing in her curiosity the same intellectual engagement that had drawn him to military history and tradition. As the ceremony began with the arrival of the regimental bands, Charlotte's excitement became almost tangible. The sound of drums and brass instruments filled the air, creating a stirring musical backdrop that sent shivers down the spine of even the most seasoned observers. Charlotte unconsciously swayed to the rhythm, her natural musical sense responding to the precision and power of the military bands as they took their positions on the parade ground. The household cavalry made their entrance with characteristic flair, their mounted regiments creating a magnificent spectacle as they processed onto the parade ground. Charlotte gasped in delight at the sight of the horses, their glossy coats gleaming in the morning sunlight, and their riders sitting with picture-perfect posture in their ornate uniforms. She had always loved horses, and seeing them integrated so seamlessly into this grand ceremony added an extra layer of magic to the experience. William noticed how Charlotte's attention never wavered, despite the length and complexity of the ceremony. Her focus impressed him, as did her instinctive understanding of when to remain still and quiet during solemn moments, and when she could express her enthusiasm more openly. These social skills had developed naturally over the years as she accompanied her parents to various royal events, learning through observation and gentle guidance how to conduct herself in formal situations. The arrival of the king added a new dimension of solemnity and grandeur to the proceedings. Charlotte watched with respectful attention as her grandfather took his position for the ceremony, understanding that this was a special day and that everyone present was there to honor him and the monarchy he represented. The relationship between Charlotte and her grandfather had always been warm and affectionate, built on shared interests and mutual respect that transcended the formality of their public roles. As the inspection of the troops began, Charlotte leaned forward slightly to get a better view of the proceedings. She watched intently as the king moved along the ranks of soldiers, noting how each guardsman stood at perfect attention despite the length of time they had been in position. Her questions to her father became more sophisticated as the ceremony progressed, showing a developing understanding of military protocol and the significance of these ancient traditions. The moment when the color was trooped past the assembled regiments proved particularly captivating for Charlotte. She had learned about the sacred nature of regimental colors, understanding that these flags represented the soul and history of each military unit. Watching the ceremony unfold before her, she could see these abstract concepts made tangible in the reverent manner with which the color was handled and the respectful attention paid to it by every soldier on the parade ground. William found himself moved by Charlotte's genuine emotional response to the ceremony's most solemn moments. When the massed bands played the national anthem, he noticed tears forming in his daughter's eyes, not from sadness but from a deep emotional connection to the moment and what it represented. Her reaction reminded him of his own childhood experiences of feeling overwhelmed by the weight and beauty of royal tradition, understanding intuitively that he was part of something much larger than himself. The precision of the military drill impressed Charlotte enormously, and she whispered questions to her father about how the soldiers managed to move with such perfect coordination. William explained the months of training and dedication required to achieve such standards, helping Charlotte understand that what they were witnessing represented countless hours of preparation and commitment by every individual on the parade ground. This insight seemed to deepen her appreciation for the spectacle unfolding before them. The young princess showed particular interest in the role of the military musicians, watching closely as the various bands coordinated their movements and musical performances. She had been learning piano at school and understood enough about music to appreciate the skill required to perform complex pieces while marching in formation. Her questions about the different instruments and their roles in the ceremony demonstrated a developing musical sophistication that pleased both her parents. As the ceremony reached its climactic moments, Charlotte's excitement became increasingly apparent. She gripped the balcony railing more tightly and occasionally rose up on her tiptoes to get a better view of particularly impressive moments in the proceedings. Her enthusiasm was infectious, bringing smiles to the faces of other family members and palace staff who witnessed her genuine delight in the unfolding spectacle. The flypast by the Royal Air Force represented the ceremony's grand finale, and Charlotte had been looking forward to this moment with particular anticipation. She had studied photographs of previous flypasts, learning to identify different aircraft types and understanding the precision required to coordinate such a complex aerial display. As the sound of approaching aircraft grew louder, her excitement reached fever pitch, and she bounced slightly on her feet in anticipation. William watched his daughter's face as the aircraft appeared on the horizon, seeing there a perfect mixture of childhood wonder and sophisticated appreciation for the skill and coordination required to execute such a display. Charlotte's reaction reminded him that even the most formal royal ceremonies could inspire genuine joy and excitement, connecting people of all ages to traditions that had endured for generations. The precision timing of the flypast impressed Charlotte greatly, and she asked her father how the pilots managed to coordinate their arrival so perfectly with the conclusion of the ground-based ceremony. William explained the complex planning and communication required for such coordination, helping Charlotte understand that what appeared effortless actually required extensive preparation and professional skill from all participants. As the aircraft passed overhead in perfect formation, Charlotte waved enthusiastically at the pilots, even though she knew they couldn't see her individual gesture from such a height. Her spontaneous reaction captured the spirit of the day perfectly, combining respectful appreciation for military tradition with the natural enthusiasm of a child witnessing something truly spectacular. The image of the young princess waving at the aircraft would become one of the day's most endearing moments. The conclusion of the flypast marked the end of the formal ceremony, but Charlotte's excitement showed no signs of diminishing. She continued to watch the sky long after the aircraft had disappeared, clearly hoping for one more glimpse of the impressive display. Her sustained enthusiasm throughout the lengthy ceremony impressed everyone present, demonstrating a level of engagement and appreciation that went far beyond mere politeness or duty. As the crowds began to disperse from Horse Guard's parade, Charlotte turned to her father with eyes still bright with excitement and wonder. The experience had clearly made a deep impression on her, creating memories that would last a lifetime and strengthening her connection to the traditions and responsibilities that came with her royal heritage. The second phase of this memorable day had concluded, but its impact on young Charlotte would endure for years to come. The return journey to Buckingham Palace buzzed with Charlotte's animated recounting of everything she had witnessed during the ceremony. Her eyes sparkled with excitement as she described her favorite moments to her father, from the perfect synchronization of the marching bands to the thunderous roar of the aircraft overhead. William listened with growing admiration for his daughter's attention to detail and her genuine emotional connection to the traditions they had just witnessed together. As their carriage wound through the London streets lined with cheering crowds, Charlotte pressed her face to the window, waving enthusiastically at the people who had gathered to catch a glimpse of the royal family. Her natural warmth and genuine joy seemed to radiate outward, creating smiles and excited waves in return from children and adults alike. The spontaneous connection between the young princess and the public demonstrated the special magic that royal children could bring to formal occasions. William noted how Charlotte's confidence had grown throughout the day's events. Earlier that morning, she had shown some nervousness about being in the public eye for such an extended period, but now she seemed completely comfortable with the attention and responsibility that came with her royal role. The transformation was remarkable to witness, showing how positive experiences could build a child's self-assurance and sense of belonging within the royal framework. Upon arrival at Buckingham Palace, Charlotte could hardly contain her excitement about the upcoming balcony appearance. She had been practicing her royal wave for weeks, studying video footage of previous ceremonies to perfect her technique. The young princess understood that this final public appearance would be seen by millions of people around the world, and she was determined to represent her family and the monarchy with appropriate dignity and charm. The palace's private rooms provided a brief respite from the public nature of the day's events, allowing the family to decompress and prepare for the balcony appearance. Charlotte used this time to ask her father more detailed questions about what she had observed during the ceremony, demonstrating a level of analytical thinking that impressed all the adults present. Her questions showed that she had been processing not just the visual spectacle, but also the deeper meaning behind the traditions. Catherine joined them in the preparation rooms, having watched the ceremony from a different vantage point, and she was delighted to hear Charlotte's enthusiastic descriptions of her experiences. The mother-daughter bond was evident as Charlotte sought validation and shared understanding of the day's significance from her mother, who had herself navigated the sometimes overwhelming world of royal protocol and public expectations. Palace staff members who interacted with Charlotte during these preparation moments were struck by her natural grace and consideration for others. Despite her obvious excitement about the day's events, she remained polite and thoughtful in her interactions, thanking staff members for their assistance and showing genuine interest in their roles in making the ceremony successful. These small gestures spoke volumes about the values being instilled in the young princess. The final preparations for the balcony appearance involved careful coordination of timing and positioning to ensure the best possible experience for both the royal family and the waiting crowds. Charlotte listened carefully to the instructions provided by palace officials, asking clarifying questions when necessary and demonstrating her commitment to fulfilling her role properly. Her professionalism, despite her young age, impressed even the most experienced royal staff members. As the moment approached for the balcony appearance, Charlotte's excitement reached new heights, but it was tempered by a growing understanding of the solemnity and significance of the occasion. She had learned from previous royal events that the balcony appearance represented a special moment of connection between the monarchy and the people, a tradition that had endured through generations and continued to serve as a powerful symbol of national unity. The young princess took particular care with her appearance for the balcony moment, understanding that photographers would capture images that would be seen around the world and preserved for historical records. She smoothed her dress and checked her hair one final time, showing the same attention to detail that had characterized her approach to the entire day's events. Her natural sense of responsibility was evident in these small but significant gestures. William felt a surge of pride as he watched Charlotte prepare for this public moment, recognizing in her careful preparations the same sense of duty and commitment that had guided his own approach to royal responsibilities throughout his life. The continuity of values and traditions being passed from one generation to the next was particularly moving to witness, especially during such a historically significant ceremony. The sounds of the crowds gathering outside the palace grew louder as the appointed time approached, creating an atmosphere of anticipation that was palpable throughout the building. Charlotte listened to these sounds with growing excitement, understanding that thousands of people had gathered specifically to see the royal family and celebrate the traditions that the day's ceremony represented. The weight of this expectation seemed to energize rather than intimidate her. Palace security and protocol officers conducted final briefings about the balcony appearance, ensuring that all family members understood their positions and the sequence of events that would unfold. Charlotte paid careful attention to these instructions, asking questions about timing and protocol that demonstrated her growing sophistication in understanding the complexities of royal public appearances. The moment finally arrived to make their way to the famous Buckingham Palace balcony, and Charlotte walked beside her father with evident pride and excitement. The corridor leading to the balcony had witnessed countless historic moments over the decades, and Charlotte seemed to sense the weight of history as they approached this iconic location. Her steps were measured and purposeful, showing respect for the significance of the moment. As they reached the doors leading to the balcony, Charlotte paused for a moment to take a deep breath and compose herself. The gesture was both touching and impressive, showing her understanding that they were about to step into a very public moment that would be remembered and analyzed by people around the world. Her natural instincts for appropriate behavior in formal situations had clearly developed significantly over the course of the day. The sound of the waiting crowd grew dramatically louder as the balcony doors opened, revealing the sea of people gathered in front of Buckingham Palace. Charlotte's eyes widened at the sight of so many people, all gathered to celebrate and show their appreciation for the monarchy and the traditions it represented. The scale of public interest and enthusiasm was both humbling and inspiring for the young princess to witness. William guided Charlotte to her designated position on the balcony, providing gentle encouragement and support as she prepared to acknowledge the crowds for the first time during this particular ceremony. The father-daughter bond was clearly evident in these moments, as William's protective instincts balanced perfectly with his desire to help Charlotte embrace her royal role and responsibilities with confidence and joy. The crowd's reaction when Charlotte appeared on the balcony was immediately enthusiastic and warm, with cheers and waves greeting the young princess from every section of the gathered throng. Charlotte's face lit up with genuine delight at this positive reception, and she began to wave back with increasing confidence and enthusiasm. The mutual affection between the princess and the public was immediately apparent and deeply moving to witness. As Charlotte settled into the rhythm of the balcony appearance, her natural charm and warmth began to shine through more clearly. She varied her waves and occasionally pointed to specific sections of the crowd, creating moments of personal connection that delighted those lucky enough to catch her attention. Her instinctive understanding of how to engage with crowds suggested a natural aptitude for public life that would serve her well in future royal duties. The photographers capturing the balcony appearance were clearly delighted by Charlotte's animated and genuine responses to the crowd, producing images that would perfectly capture the spirit of joy and connection that characterized this particular Trooping the Color ceremony. Charlotte seemed unaware of the intense media attention, focusing instead on acknowledging the people who had gathered to celebrate this special day with the royal family. The balcony appearance continued to unfold beautifully as Charlotte found her rhythm in acknowledging the enthusiastic crowds below. Her confidence grew with each passing moment, and William watched with quiet pride as his daughter demonstrated natural instincts for public engagement that seemed to come from somewhere deep within her royal heritage. The way she managed to be both dignified and approachable simultaneously spoke to character traits that would serve her well throughout her life in the public eye. Charlotte's attention was suddenly drawn to a particular section of the crowd where a group of children had managed to position themselves near the palace gates. Their excited waving and obvious delight at seeing the young princess created a special moment of connection that transcended the formal nature of the occasion. Charlotte focused her attention on these young supporters, waving specifically in their direction and even attempting to make eye contact with individual children in the group. The emotional impact of this connection was immediately apparent, as the children in the crowd responded with increased enthusiasm and joy. Their parents and guardians were equally moved by Charlotte's obvious effort to acknowledge the youngest members of the gathered crowd, recognizing in her gesture a natural empathy and understanding that made her particularly relatable to families attending the ceremony. This spontaneous moment of connection became one of the most heartwarming aspects of the entire balcony appearance. William noticed how Charlotte's genuine pleasure in these interactions seemed to energize her rather than tire her, despite the length of the day's activities. Her natural extroversion and obvious enjoyment of public life suggested that she possessed the temperament necessary for a lifetime of royal duties and public engagements. The ease with which she adapted to the formal requirements while maintaining her authentic personality impressed everyone observing her performance. The diversity of the crowd gathered in front of Buckingham Palace was particularly striking, with people of all ages, backgrounds, and nationalities united in their enthusiasm for the royal family and the traditions they represented. Charlotte seemed to instinctively understand this diversity, varying her acknowledgments to ensure that different sections of the crowd felt included in her attention. Her inclusive approach demonstrated a sophisticated understanding of her role as a representative of the entire nation. Palace photographers and members of the media captured hundreds of images during the balcony appearance, but it was the candid moments of genuine emotion and connection that proved most compelling. Charlotte's unguarded expressions of delight and wonder provided a refreshing contrast to the formal nature of much royal photography, creating images that would resonate with people around the world and help humanize the monarchy for future generations. The young princess showed particular interest in the various flags and banners being waved by supporters in the crowd, pointing them out to her father and asking questions about their significance. This curiosity about the symbols and traditions associated with the monarchy demonstrated her developing understanding of the complex relationship between the royal family and the diverse communities they serve throughout the United Kingdom and the Commonwealth. As the balcony appearance progressed, Charlotte began to notice and respond to specific individuals in the crowd who had made special efforts to catch her attention. An elderly woman holding a bouquet of flowers received a particularly warm wave, as did a veteran in military uniform who had positioned himself prominently near the palace gates. These individual acknowledgments showed Charlotte's growing skill in reading crowds and identifying moments for personal connection. The technical aspects of the balcony appearance required careful coordination among family members to ensure optimal positioning for photographers and television cameras covering the event. Charlotte adapted to these requirements with impressive flexibility, adjusting her position when necessary while maintaining her engagement with the crowd. Her ability to balance the technical demands with genuine emotional connection demonstrated a sophisticated understanding of modern royal duties. William found himself increasingly moved by the obvious bond developing between Charlotte and the public during this extended balcony appearance. The mutual affection was genuine and powerful, creating the kind of connection between monarchy and people that had sustained the institution through centuries of social and political change. Witnessing this connection form in real time was both touching and historically significant. The sounds emanating from the crowd evolved throughout the balcony appearance, shifting from general cheers and applause to more specific calls of support and affection directed toward individual family members. Charlotte's name was called out repeatedly by supporters, and her delighted responses to these personal acknowledgments created moments of pure joy that were captured by cameras and witnessed by millions of viewers worldwide. Security personnel monitoring the crowd reported exceptionally positive reactions to Charlotte's performance on the balcony, noting that her natural charm and obvious enjoyment were creating an unusually warm and enthusiastic atmosphere among the gathered supporters. The positive energy radiating from the young princess seemed to enhance the entire event, contributing to what was shaping up to be one of the most successful Trooping the Color ceremonies in recent memory. Charlotte's stamina throughout the extended public appearance impressed all observers, as she maintained her energy and enthusiasm despite the physical and emotional demands of being in the public eye for such an extended period. Her ability to sustain authentic engagement without showing signs of fatigue or stress demonstrated both natural resilience and the benefits of careful preparation and family support throughout the day's activities. The international media coverage of the balcony appearance focused heavily on Charlotte's performance, with commentators noting her natural aptitude for public life and the obvious pleasure she took in connecting with supporters. These positive reviews would help establish Charlotte's reputation as a future asset to the monarchy, someone capable of maintaining the institution's relevance and appeal for younger generations of supporters both in Britain and around the world. The historical significance of the moment was not lost on palace officials and royal historians observing the balcony appearance, who recognized that they were witnessing the emergence of a new royal personality with the potential to significantly impact the monarchy's future direction. Charlotte's natural gifts for public engagement, combined with her obvious commitment to her royal duties, suggested that she would play an important role in ensuring the institution's continued success and relevance. As the formal balcony appearance began to wind down, Charlotte's obvious reluctance to end the interaction with the crowd demonstrated her genuine enjoyment of the public aspect of royal life. Her enthusiasm remained high even as other family members began to show signs of fatigue from the day's extensive activities. This sustained energy and commitment impressed royal staff members who had worked with multiple generations of the royal family. The coordination required to conclude the balcony appearance smoothly while maintaining the positive atmosphere required careful timing and communication among family members and palace staff. Charlotte followed the subtle cues provided by her father and other family members, demonstrating her growing understanding of royal protocol while maintaining her authentic engagement with the crowd until the very last moment. The final waves and acknowledgments as the royal family prepared to step back from the balcony were particularly touching, as Charlotte made clear efforts to include as many sections of the crowd as possible in her farewells. Her thoughtful approach to concluding the public appearance showed consideration for the supporters who had waited hours for this brief moment of connection with the royal family, understanding that these final gestures would be treasured memories for many in attendance. The transition from public view back to the private areas of the palace marked the end of Charlotte's first major solo performance during a significant royal ceremony, and the success of her participation exceeded all expectations. The natural grace, genuine warmth, and obvious commitment she had demonstrated throughout the day established her as a valuable asset to the royal family and a promising representative of the monarchy's future generation. The retreat from the balcony into the private quarters of Buckingham Palace marked the beginning of a more intimate and reflective phase of this memorable day. Charlotte's excitement remained palpable as she walked alongside her father through the corridors that had witnessed countless historic moments, her animated chatter about the crowd's enthusiasm and the day's highlights filling the ornate passageways with youthful energy that seemed to breathe new life into the ancient walls. William guided his daughter toward one of the palace's more comfortable sitting rooms, recognizing that she would need time to decompress and process the intensity of the day's experiences. The adrenaline from the public appearances was still coursing through Charlotte's system, and her father's experience with royal duties had taught him the importance of allowing gradual transitions from public to private life, especially for younger family members who were still developing their coping mechanisms. The sitting room they entered overlooked the palace gardens, providing a peaceful contrast to the crowds and ceremony they had left behind. Charlotte immediately gravitated toward the large windows, pressing her face against the glass to see if any remnants of the crowd were still visible in the distance. Her continued fascination with the public aspect of the day demonstrated how profoundly the experience had affected her understanding of her role within the royal family and the broader relationship between the monarchy and the people. Palace staff members who had observed Charlotte's performance throughout the day were unanimous in their praise for her natural grace and authentic engagement with the public. Senior courtiers, many of whom had served the royal family for decades, noted that Charlotte possessed an instinctive understanding of royal duties that typically took years to develop. Her ability to balance formal requirements with genuine emotional connection suggested that she had inherited the best qualities of previous generations of successful royal family members. Catherine joined them in the sitting room, having completed her own post-ceremony responsibilities, and was immediately struck by Charlotte's continued enthusiasm and energy. The mother-daughter conversation that followed provided insights into how deeply the day's events had resonated with the young princess, who peppered her mother with questions about the historical significance of various ceremonial elements and the role of royal women in maintaining these traditions across generations. The debriefing conversation between Charlotte and her parents revealed the sophisticated level of observation and analysis that she had applied to the day's events. Her questions demonstrated that she had been processing not just the visual spectacle of the ceremony, but also the deeper meanings behind the traditions, the relationship between the military and the monarchy, and the role of public ceremony in maintaining national unity and identity. Her intellectual engagement with these complex concepts impressed both parents enormously. Charlotte's artistic sensibilities had also been engaged by the day's experiences, and she expressed a desire to create drawings and paintings that would capture her memories of the ceremony's most impressive moments. Her plan to document the experience through art showed a sophisticated approach to processing and preserving meaningful experiences, suggesting that the day had made a lasting impact on her creative and intellectual development. The young princess demonstrated remarkable recall for specific details from the ceremony, describing particular moments with accuracy and enthusiasm that impressed even her father, whose military training had taught him to observe and remember complex sequences of events. Charlotte's ability to retain and articulate these details suggested strong observational skills and genuine engagement that went far beyond mere politeness or dutiful participation in royal activities. As the afternoon progressed, Charlotte's questions evolved from immediate observations about the ceremony to broader inquiries about the history and future of the monarchy itself. She wanted to understand how traditions developed over time, why certain elements remained constant while others evolved, and what role she might play in maintaining and adapting these traditions for future generations. Her thoughtful approach to these weighty topics demonstrated maturity beyond her years. The conversation between father and daughter took on increasingly philosophical dimensions as Charlotte grappled with concepts of duty, service, and the balance between personal desires and public responsibilities. William found himself drawing on his own experiences of growing up in the royal family, sharing insights about how he had learned to navigate the unique challenges and opportunities that came with royal heritage while maintaining his individual identity and personal happiness. Charlotte's empathy and emotional intelligence were particularly evident in her observations about the crowd's reactions and the obvious pleasure that people took in participating in royal ceremonies. She had noticed individual faces in the crowd, particularly children and elderly supporters, and her questions about their motivations for attending demonstrated a genuine interest in understanding the perspectives of people outside the royal family who chose to engage with monarchical traditions. The impact of the day's experiences on Charlotte's understanding of British history and culture was immediately apparent in her follow-up questions and observations. She had connected the ceremony to historical events and figures she had studied in school, demonstrating an ability to integrate new experiences with existing knowledge in ways that deepened her overall understanding of her heritage and the responsibilities that came with it. William shared stories from his own childhood experiences of royal ceremonies, helping Charlotte understand that the feelings of excitement, nervousness, and pride she had experienced were normal and shared across generations of royal children. These personal anecdotes created bonds of understanding between father and daughter, while also providing Charlotte with perspective on how to process and learn from intense public experiences. The conversation gradually shifted toward future opportunities for Charlotte to participate in royal duties and ceremonies, with William carefully gauging his daughter's interest and comfort level with increased public responsibilities. Charlotte's enthusiasm for future engagements was evident, but her questions also demonstrated wisdom in understanding that such opportunities came with both privileges and obligations that required careful consideration and preparation. As evening approached, Charlotte's energy finally began to show signs of flagging, though her intellectual engagement with the day's experiences remained strong. The physical and emotional demands of the extended public appearance had been significant, and William recognized the importance of ensuring that his daughter processed these experiences in healthy ways that would build her confidence and understanding rather than creating pressure or anxiety about future royal duties. The family dinner conversation that evening continued to revolve around the day's events, with Charlotte serving as the animated narrator of highlights and memorable moments for her brothers and other family members who had observed the ceremony from different vantage points. Her storytelling abilities and obvious pleasure in sharing her experiences demonstrated healthy processing of what had been an intense and meaningful day in her young life. Palace staff members who had interacted with Charlotte throughout the day made special efforts to congratulate her on her outstanding performance during the ceremony and balcony appearance. These acknowledgments from experienced royal household members meant a great deal to Charlotte, who understood that their praise carried special weight given their extensive experience with royal protocol and public engagements across multiple generations. The day's experiences had clearly strengthened Charlotte's sense of connection to her royal heritage and her understanding of the positive impact that royal ceremonies could have on public morale and national unity. Her observations about the crowd's enthusiasm and the obvious pleasure people took in celebrating royal traditions had given her valuable insights into the monarchy's continued relevance and importance in contemporary British society. As the memorable day drew to a close, Charlotte settled into her evening routine with obvious satisfaction at having successfully navigated her most significant royal duty to date. The confidence she had gained through the day's positive experiences would serve as a foundation for future public engagements, while the insights she had developed about royal responsibilities would guide her understanding of her unique role within the family and the nation. The heartwarming moments shared between father and daughter during this special day had created lasting memories and strengthened bonds that would endure throughout their lives, while also demonstrating Charlotte's natural gifts for royal life that promised well for the monarchy's future. The successful conclusion of Trooping the Color had marked not just another annual ceremony, but a significant milestone in the development of a young princess who had shown herself capable of embracing both the privileges and responsibilities of royal heritage with grace, enthusiasm, and genuine commitment to serving others.